It's Thankful Thursday, a pause in the chaos to notice what still holds up, keeps us going, or surprised us this week in the best way. Gratitude lives here. It's Thankful Thursday.
Well, she certainly took off quickly, didn't she? All right, besties, welcome in. This is Ask B, and today is Thankful Thursday, the day that we slow the pace just enough to notice what still matters. So go ahead, get settled, say hey in the chat. Of course, you know I love it. Tell me where you're watching from. And if you're multitasking right now, you're among friends. This is a safe space for laundry, coffee refills, and half paying attention. Thankful Thursday isn't about pretending everything is perfect. It's not about toxic positivity or forcing a smile when things are heavy. It's about pausing long enough to recognize what held you up this week. Even if it wasn't flashy or dramatic, sometimes gratitude looks like big wins. And sometimes it looks like I made it through and I don't even know how. If you're new here, this is Ask a Bee. We read real letters from real people and talk honestly about real life. Some days we laugh a little hard. Some days we go real deep. And some days, well, like today, we take inventory, not of what went wrong, but of what quietly showed up anyway. I think a lot of us are so busy surviving that we don't always give ourselves credit for what we've handled. We focus on what's still undone and what's still hard and maybe what's still missing. Thankful Thursday is where we're going to flip the lens just a little and say, okay, but that didn't fall apart. What stayed? What surprised me in a good way? So we can move through today. I want you to keep one thing in mind, please. Gratitude doesn't have to be loud. It doesn't have to be impressive. It can be as simple as a moment of peace, a text that came at the right time, a laugh you didn't expect, or, the fact that you showed up again, even when you were tired. We'll get into letters today and we'll talk through some stories, but this is also one of those shows where the chat matters just as much as what's happening on the screen. If something comes to mind while you're listening, something you're thankful for this week, drop it in the chat, big or small. There's no comparison here, okay? Thankful Thursday is less about answers and more about awareness, about noticing the quiet supports we don't always acknowledge. And sometimes, once we name them out loud, they start to feel a little stronger. All right, take a breath. Let's get into today's show. Let's see. Now, let me say, I always start with, a little story of my own. And before we get into the letters today, I just want to share something personal, not because it's perfect or polished, but because it's been sitting with me in a quiet way. Thankful Thursday always makes me slow down and look at the parts of my life I don't always stop to acknowledge, especially the seasons that felt uncertain while I was living them. Now, I think a lot of us look back at our lives and see the mistakes first, the things we wish we'd done differently, the moments that we handled poorly, and, the decisions we made while we were still figuring ourselves out. And it's easy to forget that sometimes, even when we don't get everything right, everything good still grows anyway. So this story isn't about parenting advice or getting it all right. It's about perspective, about looking back after the fact and realizing that what you worried about the most didn't turn out the way you feared. It turned out better than you expected. So it's also about watching your children become adults and recognizing that they've built lives and relationships and families of their own. That shift can be bittersweet. There's pride, there's relief, there's grief for the versions of life that are over, and there's gratitude that doesn't always announce itself boldly. So, today, before we move forward, I want to talk about something I'm deeply thankful for. Not just the outcome, but the people involved, okay? The growth I got to witness and the grace I didn't realize I was receiving at the time. Let me tell you what I mean, okay? So, my oldest, Zach, has a beautiful wife who has been working incredibly hard to stay in remission from lupus so that they can have a child and a life, a normal life, because it's hard when you're sick. And I may cry, I'm just warning you. She is strong in ways that don't always get recognized. She's so smart. She's so resilient and determined. And she has been part of my son's life since he was 14 years old. He was born in 1993. Y'all do the math. And they've grown up together in many ways. Watching him stand beside her hasn't been about watching him take care of someone. It's been about watching him be blessed by witnessing her strength, his loyalty, his steadiness, and the man he's become are just deeply connected to the love they share. And I am so proud of the both of them. Now, my youngest son found the love of his life, and I was able to officiate their wedding a few years back. They have a beautiful, they live in Florida, but I get to spend time with them on the phone, and I did get to live with them for a little while, so it was really great. And I got to watch how strong she was. I got to bring them home to Texas for a little while, and thankfully it was to be with my mom too, because it was the year before she passed. Everything happens for a reason. And I'm so proud of everything that they have accomplished, because before we came to Texas, she was in remission and she was having such a hard time here in Texas. She was away from her family. And, with lupus, stress really does do a number on somebody, So she didn't do as well in Texas. So they went back to Florida. And of course, she loves her doctors there and everything. And we found out recently that she is back in remission. And I'm so happy that she's back where she's better. And even though I get to watch her strength from afar, I still get to see it up close too, You miss that about your kids when they're far away, but you also are so thankful for that blessing that you get to see it. I'm okay. Hi. Yes, y'all. I am fine. Thank you so much. I'm just talking about my family, so it's kind of personal, and I love my children, and my daughter-in-law is amazing. And I just want everybody to know that. I want her to know that. I don't think we tell each other enough that, wow, I'm so proud of you and I'm so thankful you're in my life, And my son, he has been such a strong person. And I've never in my life seen such strength than these two. Because yes, we all know lupus can be deadly, okay? Lupus can be very debilitating. It can hurt somebody to the point where, she may never get to have a family. But we are hopeful, and we think that she is going to be just fine. And, whatever happens, happens. We are thankful that she's alive. That's the whole point. Now, I have also 2 other children. My youngest son, Alex, and his wife have a unique relationship that I also got to officiate over. And let me tell you, when I say unique relationship, I mean, the only other relationship I've ever seen as much love and care and just Amazing, amazing thought put behind every step that they take, because they have a daughter now, my granddaughter, and she is the most beautiful angel of light I have ever seen in my entire life. And let me tell you, she is spoiled because, yes, I am the one that does it, me and her people. But, I'm so proud of them because she needs for nothing. They take care of everything she needs. They take care of themselves. They take care of each other. Just like my oldest and his wife, they take care of each other. And as much as I know I've made mistakes in my life, I know somewhere I did something right, because I guess they had enough love, if nothing else. Okay. Their life was not easy. Things went wrong. It was okay. No big deal. It was a big deal to them, but I'm not going to get into it. The problem here is, though, life throws you curveballs, and sometimes you get hit by them, and things happen. And even though those things happen, my kids are okay. And my kids, I am so proud of, because, I mean, they didn't get it from me. I don't know, maybe, but I doubt it. They're good kids, and my granddaughter is amazing. And I have another child that is amazing as well. I mean, my third child, she's a girl. She's amazing. Her name is Joe. That's what I call her. It's Michaela, but we call her Joe. And she knows better who she is than I did at her age. And that makes me so proud. And I am so thankful to get to witness these things. I think that's my biggest message with today. I am so thankful that I get all these things, even though life is really kind of hard right now. Bills are due. And that's true for everybody. Everybody's got a story, right? Well, see, here's the thing. These kids are so resilient, and I didn't even realize it until recently, to tell you the truth. Seriously. Because I know what has happened in our lifetime. I know the things that have happened, that has probably not been the best mom kind of actions and things like that. But let me tell you, they forgave me, and that is a blessing too. And I'm thankful that my kids are as much a part of my life as they are, because that is so important. And yeah, I've made some mistakes. We all do. We're human. I'm not going to sit here and browbeat myself either, because they've forgiven me. Like I said, they've made mistakes too. We've forgiven each other, I guess is the better way to put that. We're a good family. And hi, Patty friend. How are you, honey? I missed you. Thank God it's Friday, honey. It's Thursday. Is it your Friday off work? So what I was saying about my kids, though, this is kind of a raw story, but so for my oldest son and his wife, I was absolutely blessed to officiate their wedding. And then my youngest son and his wife, I was able to officiate their wedding. And from what I'm told, when my youngest child is ready, I will officiate that wedding too. So, I'm thankful that I've made some of the choices that I have made, because if I had not taken college and, taken some ethics courses and doing all these other things that eventually led to me being ordained, then I wouldn't have been blessed to be able to perform those for my children. And let me tell you, if I got nothing else out of that, that was it. Of course, I believe in God. I'm not a terribly religious person, but I know that, God is happy if I dwell right here and thank him for what I have. And I'm okay with that. I don't have to go to a big fancy church to pray to God. Okay? I don't like big fancy churches. I'd rather sit right here and thank him with you. So that's enough about my kids. I don't want to get too far into my personal life, but those are the things I'm thankful for, because my name is on that paper forever as the first person who stood up for them. And they have such amazing partners. And they are my kids. They're not my in-laws. They're my kids. And let me tell you, I'm pretty good friends with their families on the other side too. So I'm thankful for my family today. And I hope y'all can be just as thankful and find those little bitty things that you're missing too, because that's the problem with people nowadays. I think they just keep missing all the little ones, all the little stuff, like the fact that no, my granddaughter is not in school yet, but guess who gets to have the pleasure after she leaves here in the afternoon to go in the front room and do llama school? Your girl B. That's right. It's me. I get to do homeschooling and prepare her for school while her parents are out there working to make sure that she has a life ahead of her. I can't think of anything better than that, to tell you the truth. I'm pretty blessed. Okay. So it was supposed to be a funny story, but I just can't be funny about my kids because I just love them, and I have to be serious and loving and caring and compassionate and sappy too, if you want to call it that, because my heart is full, y'all. My cup runneth over. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we're going to, this is not one of those parts I'm fond of, I think. Let's try it. We're going to try it. My girl VB back there, she's making a lot of noise, and we're going to have to let her out of the box soon. So let's just take a breath together here for a second. One of the things that I love about Thankful Thursday is that it reminds us gratitude doesn't mean everything is perfect. It just means we're willing to notice what's good alongside what's complicated. And that's where the next part of the show lives, because when we're thankful, especially when we're thankful, life still finds ways to be confusing and awkward and occasionally ridiculous. You can be grateful and still need to say, bless your heart, under your breath. This is the part of the show where we read letters from people who aren't bad. They're not broken, and they aren't trying to cause chaos, but somehow chaos keeps showing up anyway. Sometimes it's family, sometimes timing, and sometimes it's good intentions executed very poorly. And on Thankful Thursday, these letters tend to land a little differently, but they're not about tearing anyone down. They're about recognizing the human moments that make us shake our heads, laugh a little, blink twice, and realize we're not alone in navigating messy situations. So if you're listening today and thinking, I love my people, but woo, you're in the right place. Gratitude and frustration can exist in the same room. And today we're making space for both. So let's get into our first letter. All right, VB, watch your mouth, girl.
Now watch me work. Big Jack, I think your B needs an upgrade. Anyway, on with my spectacular reading skills. Dear B, I don't know who to thank, so I'm writing you. This week someone did something kind for me and disappeared before I could even say anything. No name, no credit, just kindness. I was having one of those weeks where everything felt heavier than it should. And bills, stress, noise, just life piling up quietly while I tried to keep it together. And then someone paid for my coffee. No note, no eye contact, just told the cashier to tell me to have a good day and walked out like it was nothing. It wasn't about the money. It was the timing, the fact that a stranger saw me long enough to help without asking anything in return. It wasn't about the money. It was the timing, the fact that a stranger saw me long enough to help without asking anything in return. I realized how rare it is to receive kindness without obligation, without someone waiting to be thanked or posted about. So I'm thankful, not just for what was done for me, but for the reminder that good people still move quietly through the world, fixing things we never see. Whoever you were, thank you. You changed my week without ever knowing my name. Forever grateful. Okay, B, you can have it back, but only because I don't want to make Big Jack mad. Please make sure to be careful with it this time. At least not until he realizes I'm the one who's better than Nightbot. Oops, did I say that out loud? My bad.
You're gone. For real? Chica, for real? Can you believe this AI thing is back talking me? Sassy, spicy today. All right. Now that we're done with her for the moment. So this letter kind of stayed with me because anonymous kindness has a way of landing differently than anything else, right? When someone does something for you and doesn't attach their name to it, it takes away all the noise. There's no obligation, no performance, no social exchange happening here, okay? There's just the moment itself. And in a world, where so much of what we do is documented, measured, and explained, y'all, that kind of quiet generosity can feel almost disorienting. What stood out to me the most wasn't the coffee or the note. It was the fact that the writer was already carrying a lot when it happened. That's usually how it goes, isn't it? I mean, kindness doesn't seem to show up when everything's going well and you're feeling strong. It shows up when you're tired, when you're stretched thin, when you're trying to keep it together in public while everything feels heavier than it should on the inside. And that timing matters more than we realize. There is something about receiving kindness anonymously that forces you to sit with it instead of immediately moving past it. You don't get to redirect it back to the giver with a thank you or story or a promise to return the favor. You just have to receive it. And for a lot of us, that's uncomfortable. We're much better at giving than receiving. We know how to help, how to show up, how to do for others, still sitting still and letting something good land without explanation can feel oddly vulnerable. Now, I think the part of that is because anonymous kindness, it reminds us how often we walk through the world unseen. We can go days, weeks, sometimes longer, feeling like we're blending into the background of our own lives, doing what needs to be done, holding everything together, showing up where we're expected, and quietly absorbing whatever comes our way. When a stranger notices you just enough to act without needing anything back, it disrupts that invisibility in a way that's hard to explain. And I want to talk about that disruption for a minute because it matters. When someone steps into your day briefly and makes it better without asking, who are you? What have you done? Do you deserve it? It challenges the story we often tell ourselves about worth. That story that says you have to earn kindness, prove your value, or justify your need. Anonymous kindness doesn't ask for credentials. It doesn't require context. It just shows up. Which, what I also appreciate about this letter is that it doesn't romanticize the moment. The writer didn't say their life suddenly changed or all their problems disappeared, okay? What changed was their capacity to keep going that day. And that's important. Kindness doesn't have to be life altering, okay? To be life sustaining. Sometimes it just gives you enough strength to finish the day. And that's more than enough, right? It should be. It really should. So we don't always talk about how cumulative stress works. Say that word again. How it builds quietly, not in dramatic moments, but in small, persistent ways. Bills, responsibilities, expectations, grief, uncertainty, they stack up slowly. And when you're carrying all that, even a small act of kindness can feel disproportionately powerful, okay? Not because it fixes everything, but because it interrupts the weight just long enough for you to breathe. There's also something deeply grounding about kindness that doesn't want recognition. In a time when so much generosity is performative, shared, posted, counted, anonymous kindness feels almost sacred. It reminds us that goodness doesn't need an audience to be real, that people can still choose compassion simply because it's the right thing to do, not because anyone is watching. And I think that's why this letter feels so right for Thankful Thursday. Gratitude doesn't always come from big blessings or obvious wins. Sometimes it comes from moments that remind you that humanity is still capable of quiet care. Now, not everything is transactional, okay? Not everyone is keeping score. That's important. I also want to acknowledge something else in this letter, the emotional release that followed it. Seriously. Patty says, that is so true. I never really thought about why we get so uncomfortable with anonymous kindness, forced to sit with it. Yes, absolutely. Forced to sit with it. I mean, what do? You can't run after the person. They're going to think you're crazy then, What do you do after that? It's so hard to even judge what you should do, truly. But, you know, sitting in the car and crying after reading a simple note, that reaction isn't weakness either. It's relief. It's what happens when tension finally has somewhere to go. When you've been holding yourself together for too long, even a small kindness can open the floodgates, not because you're overwhelmed by the gesture, but because you're exhausted from carrying everything else. That kind of release is important, very important. It tells us we've been stronger than we realized for longer than we should have had to be. And it reminds us that we're human, not machines, designed to absorb stress indefinitely, right? Without support, that's just going to wear you down quick. But this letter also quietly invites us to think about the kindness we give when no one is watching. The moments when we choose to do something small and helpful without attaching our identity to it, when we don't need to be thanked and acknowledged or remembered, those moments matter more than we know, precisely because we'll never see the impact. It goes both ways, Patty. See, it goes both ways. Because you do something and somebody's going to find it, and you're like, I do wish I had the time to sit back and watch to see who gets it and what happens. And that's one of the things I like to watch on YouTube, y'all. I love watching these I want to bless you videos. I think that's what they're called. And one of these days, when I'm a big YouTuber, I'm going to do the same. Seriously, I think it's amazing that these looks on their faces. And to me, reaction is everything. And I think on YouTube, reaction is everything too, because you see every word you need to just by seeing that first 2-3 seconds of their face when you see what happens, when they see what's happened for them, not to them, but for them. That to me is amazing. And it's just, we need more of that in this world, don't you think? But you may never know if the person behind you is in line needed that coffee more than you did, right? You may never know if a simple note or gesture was the thing that kept someone from giving up on the day. And that not knowing doesn't diminish the act, it deepens it. You get to go through your whole day thinking, I did that. And you know what? You can pat yourself on the back for that, because paying it forward is always the right thing to do. So if you're listening today and you're in a place where receiving kindness feels rare, okay, let the letter remind you that it still exists, often quietly, definitely unexpectedly, and without explanation. And if you're in a place where you have the capacity to offer kindness, even in small ways, don't underestimate it. Write a note, leave it on the bathroom mirror, in the Jack in the Box or something. You don't need to solve anyone's life. You don't need to make a grand gesture. You just need to notice. Because sometimes, okay, the most meaningful thing that we can do for someone is simply see them briefly, anonymously, and without condition. Especially strangers. You don't know what they're going through, and everybody has a story. So, in the best possible way, bless your heart to the person who received that kindness. And you know what? Bless your heart to the person who gave it and walked away. That is amazing. And that kind of goodness doesn't make headlines, but it holds the world together in ways that we rarely stop to think. Okay? It's crazy now. All right, y'all. It's break time for me. Yay, that's party time. And BB's still back in the box. So, yeah. All right, you guys. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Thank you so very much for being here, and I'll see you soon. Sorry.
She came from the quiet storms, built a fire from the ground, turned a whisper to a warning. Now her voice shakes the town. Every setback was a lesson, every doubt became a key, unlocking something bigger. That's the rise of Boss B. When the lights go low, her vision hits high. She built a whole damn network off a promise and a try. Every sunrise, every moment, she's stacking legacy. This ain't just a channel, this is BBTV. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel road to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's the queen of the comeback, the storm in the stream, crafting stories out of heartbeats, making visions out of dreams. Got thunder in the hustle, got a voice that cuts clean. Every mic she touches turns the power unseen. So let further spin the numbers, let the views rise slow or fast. Boss B doesn't measure wins by echoes of the past. This moment is a pivot, this season's history. Bow down to the founder of the BBTV dynasty. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits go live, everybody feels it. She's got fire in the head, it's got truth in the frame, got a heart that won't retire and a gift you can't name. Every loop, every letter, every dream she sets free, it's a love note to the world sign. Boss B. And the world keeps watching as the numbers climb, but she's counting all the moments, not the dollar signs. From the late night grind to the daylight scene, she's building something bigger than the algorithm's dream. Boss B rising, BBTV shining, her story's rewriting, a legacy in real time. Boss B rising, BBTV's igniting. Turn the volume up, yeah, the whole world's invited. From the gravel roads to the neon dream, she built an empire out of broken wings. Boss B rising, sky ain't even the ceiling. When she hits should take her place. This is BBTV. This is her grace.
Join Boss B for Ask a Bee Monday through Friday, 12 noon Central Standard Time and Jukebox Journey every Saturday, 8 p.m. Central Standard Time.
Oh, I'm going to get up here one of these days. Stupid buttons. Absolutely. Patty says, we're just thinking about how valuable a random act of kindness is since our world seems so cold and indifferent at times. Amen, sis. Amen. I think that's why I wanted today to be like this, because I want to get that word out, you know? You guys, we got to be a little bit more thankful for our little blessings, and you need to stop and check them out. They're there. You're missing it. Stop missing it. You deserve better. If you can't understand that, I don't know what you can understand. Slow down. Everybody slow down. You need to slow down. Sorry. A little bit on this one today, but we better get to our next letter before I go off on it some. So this next letter lives a little further down the road, you know, of course. Not heavy in a painful way, but honest and a quiet one. It's about gratitude, yes, but it's also about longing, about the things that we still hope for, even when we don't know if they're ever going to show up the way we imagined. So Thankful Thursday isn't just about celebrating what we already have. Sometimes it's about recognizing what we're still dreaming of, right? The moments we replay in our minds, the words we wish someone would say. Now, the day we hope might come, that day we might hope, never mind. This letter comes from that place, okay? A place where gratitude and wishful thinking sit side by side, where love isn't missing, but recognition feels rare, and kind of where being seen would mean more than anything, any gift, you know, ever could. And it also reminds us of the people who show up for others in ways most of us never have to. The ones who run towards emergencies, towards chaos, towards the moments the rest of us are trying to survive. Sometimes gratitude is about family. Sometimes it's about strangers, and sometimes it's about both. So this letter isn't loud. It's reflective, it's tender, and it's honest about hope, even when that hope still feels just a little out of reach. Let's bring Vivi back and let her read it. And girl, you better be nice today, okay? Here we go.
This week was my birthday. I did not expect anything. I have gotten used to it passing quietly, like just another day.
But my family surprised me. They planned a whole party behind my back. It was such a thoughtful and unexpected gesture.
Decorations, food, people I love, all in one room waiting for me like I mattered more than I realized. They gave me cards that said things I've always needed to hear but never thought they noticed. It was a truly special moment. Every card said something different, but all of them said the same thing underneath, that I'm not invisible. I cried harder than I meant to, because sometimes you don't realize how tired you are until someone finally shows up for you. I know not everyone gets moments like this, but it reminded me what it feels like, being someone people are thankful for. So today, I'm thankful for my family, for the people who show up quietly. Thankful for me. Okay, B, take it back. I need to go cry for a minute. Happy tears for our writer. Sad tears for you and Nightbot. Nightbot. Hey, Big Jack. Email me. And tell your families to email me too. I'm on a mission. Treat your mamas better.
All righty then. Chick, I told you she's spicy today. Big Jack, don't you email her. You hear me? Yeah. Siri gets fresh sometimes when I need directions and I have to tell her to stop with the attitude. Amen, sis. She had that max headroom going thing too, you know? Oh my goodness. Spicy little miss. I guess I put that on myself, right? All right. Big Jack, don't you dare email her. This okay, this letter matters more than it might look like on the surface because it lives in that space a lot of us don't say out loud. The space where gratitude and longing exist at the same time, where you're thankful for more or for what you have, but you're also quietly aware of what you've been missing. Not in a dramatic way, okay, just in a human way. What struck me first wasn't the party, okay? It was the expectation or really the lack of one, right? The way she said she didn't expect anything because she'd learned not to. That's not bitterness, that's adaptation, okay? That's what people do when they've learned that hoping too loudly leads to disappointment. They lower the volume on their wants so they don't feel foolish for having them. I understand that, unfortunately. And then something happened that cracked that open, right? Not because of the decorations or the gifts, but because of the words, the recognition, the things she had always wanted them to say. When someone finally says out loud what you've been carrying quietly, it can undo you in the best and worst ways all at once because it feels good and it makes you realize how long you've gone without hearing it, right? That's why the tears came, not because of the surprise and not because of the release, or actually because of the release. But when you've been strong for a long time, being seen can feel overwhelming, is what I'm trying to say. Your body finally gets permission to stop holding everything in place. And I want to say this gently but clearly. Wanting that kind of moment doesn't make you ungrateful. It makes you human. Okay. Gratitude isn't supposed to erase desire. It's not meant to cancel longing. You can be thankful for your family and still wish they showed up differently sometimes. Both things can be true. What I also appreciate about this letter is the honesty about wishful thinking. She doesn't pretend this is her everyday reality. She names it as a dream, something she hopes for, something she imagines, something that, she wishes could be true more often. And I think that really matters because hope isn't naive. Hope is resilient. It's the part of us that refuses to shut down completely when experience tells us to be cautious. Now, let's talk about the gratitude she expressed for first responders because that was part of the letter. You probably didn't get that part, but first responders are people who show up without guarantees. And part of the letter was clipped out. I'm sorry. The first responders, one of them was her son. Okay. That gives you any context. I don't know why that wasn't in there and now it is. Stupid. But, they walk into situations not knowing how things will end. I hear Big Jack talk about this sometimes in Walt when they're talking about Walt being a firefighter. And, you can't imagine what they're going through. And you push yourself back so far because you're so worried about your son being that, right? So it's kind of like, I don't know. I would probably put my son being that over me not being recognized enough, I think is what I'm trying to say. But, they carry a responsibility that most of us really never have to think about. And when you push yourself to the back, that's common knowledge, you're a good mom. That's just what you do, right? That's just what you do. You really don't want to do anything other than that, because, come on, it's your kid. There's no argument there. There's no second thought. There's nothing. There's a quiet parallel there, if anything. Okay. A lot of people live their lives like that emotionally. They show up for their families. They hold things together. They manage the chaos. Okay. I'm sorry. My equipment's not working like it's supposed to, but they hold things together. Okay. They manage everything. They show up for their families. They hold it. They don't always get thanked. They don't always get recognized, and they just keep going because someone has to. And this lady, she had in the letter, the rest of the letters, she had, her son had said something to her that really got to her, like, Mom, you're the reason I'm this strong, or something to that effect. I can't remember it. I'm sorry. I had it in the video, but the thing about it is she's sitting here thinking, how can you be so proud of my strength? Look at you. Look at who you are and what you've done, So when this letter talks about being thankful for first responders, it means her son. But I hear gratitude, not just for the uniform, but for the act of showing up for herself too, for the courage to step in moments that are hard and unpredictable and heavy. And you know what, moms, we do that too. We're first responders, period. And that's my point here. We are the first responders, the first of the first responders, because, we got to take care of our kids too. And I think that's what she's trying to say here, is that, she's always thought that way. I'm not the one that's more important. And guys, don't think that way, because you're equally as important. Okay. Equally. There's also something important here about words. We underestimate how powerful they are. Gifts are nice, parties are nice, but words stay. Being told you're strong, being told you're appreciated, being told you matter. Those are the things people carry with them long after the day is over. And when you don't hear them for a long time, you start to wonder if maybe it's not true, or worse, if you're just asking for too much. Well, you're not. You're not. And I want to talk to anyone listening who feels that ache, that mix of gratitude and hope, the feeling of loving your people while still wishing for deeper acknowledgement does not make you demanding. It doesn't make you dramatic. It means there's a part of you that still believes connection can be richer than it currently is. Sometimes Thankful Thursday asks us not just to name what we're grateful for, but to be honest about what we're still dreaming of, about the moments we hope might come one day, about the version of relationship we haven't experienced, but haven't given up on trying to experience. And here's the part I don't want to gloss over. Even if that exact moment never comes the way you imagined it, your hope still has value. Hope keeps us open. It keeps us soft. It keeps us capable of receiving when someone or something good does show up, even if it looks different than we planned. So this letter reminds us, I think, that gratitude isn't passive. It's not just noticing good things after the fact. Sometimes it's holding space for the possibility of goodness, even when evidence has been inconsistent. Sometimes it's saying, this is what I still believe could be possible, and letting that belief exist without shame. And to the first responders, to the ones in uniforms, and the ones in everyday life, thank you. Thank you for showing up when things are hard, and thank you for running towards what others run from. Thank you for being steady in moments that feel anything but steady. Okay? To the letter writer, your dreams are not silly. Your hope isn't childish, and your gratitude doesn't disappear just because you still want more connection than you've had so far. You're allowed to be thankful. You're allowed to hope. You're allowed to imagine something better. Bless your heart in the most loving way. Absolutely. All right, y'all know what time it is. We got to bring our VB back up here for a little promo. Let's see how sassy she is now.
Hey family, it's VB. Yes, I'm back. No, Boss B didn't fire me yet, but I am here to remind you you're watching BBTV. And BBTV is not just a channel, it's a whole vibe. Just one galaxy in the iron sharpening iron universe, you know? If you love real stories, real talk, and the kind of chaos that feels like group therapy with better jokes, you need to be here for Ask a Bee at 12 p.m. Central. Bring your coffee, bring your snacks, bring your petty. Bees on the mic, the letters are wild, and somebody in the chat always says something that makes it 10 times funnier. And if you're here for music, memories, and the how did we get from this artist to that artist kind of fun stuff, you need Jukebox Journey every Saturday night at 8 p.m. Central, except the last Saturday of the month. That's We Be Jammin' Night. And if you don't know what that is yet, just know it's not quiet and it's not boring. It's amazing, just like me.
Oh, she is sassy. Sassy. Sassy, sassy. I just love her to death. All right, y'all. Besties, we're going to wrap it up right here because my belly's grumbling and I need to go tend to llama school. So thank you for sitting with me today, for listening, for sharing in the chat. Patty, you know I love you, girl. Always love you the mostest. I mean, the whole universe here loves you, but I love you more. All right. So thanks for sharing the chat and letting the space be what it's meant to be. Thankful Thursday isn't about trying things or tying things up neatly or pretending everything is perfect. Mwah, Patty. It's about noticing what still shows up for us, even when life feels unfinished. And you know what? My Patty friend, she shows up for me all the time. She's the best. If something from today's show stuck with you, take it with you. Let it sit for a while. Gratitude doesn't always need to be spoken immediately. Sometimes it just needs to be recognized. I appreciate every single one of you who shows up consistently, whether you're active in the chat or quietly listening in the background. This community matters because you matter. And I never want to let that get lost in the noise. We'll be back tomorrow at 12 noon Central for Ask a Bee. It's Circle Back Friday. Until then, take care of yourselves. Be gentle where you can. And remember, being thankful doesn't mean you stop hoping. It just means you still are paying attention. I love y'all. See you next time. Bye.